Hey there, my name is Patrick Kelleher. I work at VF Corporation. VF's a large retail conglomerate. It's a multi-brand company. We have brands like the North Face, Vans, Timberland, and I mostly manage lots of Apple devices in their retail stores. And I'm here to talk about building your first shortcut action, so the actual actions that compose shortcuts, because it's actually pretty easy. And even if you don't have a ton of programming experience, or even if you just have a little scripting experience, I think this is pretty approachable. So shortcuts, I don't want to get too much into shortcuts. It's Apple's developed low-code automation tool. It's built into pretty much all Apple platforms now. It supports conditional logic. It's very powerful. You can do if statements, for loops, all that fun stuff. It supports entities, so you can pass an object from one action to another. Again, really powerful. If you haven't checked it out, you probably already have it on your laptop. Shortcuts are built on app intents. So app intents is a broader framework to expose app functionality and content of the system. So at a high level, you're creating these definitions inside your code, and it's advertising to the system what your app does. It powers things like shortcut Siri, Spotlight widgets, and now controls as well. And at WWDC this year, Apple's now saying that everything your app does should now be an app intent. I think before they were just telling developers just to advertise the most common functionality in your app, and now they're asking everything your app does conform to this protocol. So I think the value proposition that Apple wants with this is that if you're building an app, if you can conform to this protocol, you should, because you get all these cool benefits like shortcuts with it. So why should you care? Why should the folks in this room care? It's a great low-code solution that everyone probably already has on their laptop. It's a great way to add a UI to a Mac app that doesn't have one. So if you had like a Swift CLI, if you wanted to add like an interface to it, this is kind of a cool way to do it without having to build a full UI. Little front-end experience is required. You'll see in a moment here. You don't need to write a UI. We're just writing definitions. The developer experience has much improved. If you've played around with this stuff previously, you may have had to play with these intent definition files. It's just code now. You don't have to do that anymore. And Apple released shortcut actions for Apple Configurator last WWDC, which is kind of how this got exposed to me. And they asked MDM vendors to do the same. So this is pretty much it. So we have a struct here. This is in Swift, if I haven't explained that already. And we have a create world struct that conforms to the app intent protocol. So it's just a struct that conforms to app intent. And so on the left, we have our action for the demo, which is a create world action. We have some parameters, and then at the end of the action, we're outputting a world entity or a world object. So create world with life and say hello. And then on the right, we're using this shortcut action in the life finder shortcut. And we're saying if that world supports life, do this. And then if we're saying if the population of that world is this, then do this. So you can kind of see we're able to play with that world entity within the shortcut. So it's pretty powerful stuff. So in this demo, I'm using 4 components of app intent. So we have our description, so pretty self-explanatory. Parameters, this is kind of where the magic happens. So you can see we're not really writing any UI code here. We're just basically describing to the system, hey, these are the parameters for moons, for example. I want a list of strings, and you saw on the previous slide, we're getting that UI for free. Our parameter summary, so that's where we define the description of the action. So for the demo, it was create world with life and say hello. And you can see in this example, it's actually dynamic. So if the user checks supports life, the description changes. So you can you can have the actions read really naturally, depending on what parameters the user selects in each action. And then in the perform, in this example, we're building the world entity, the world app entity, which I'll go over in a second. But you don't have to return anything here. You can do whatever. Your imagination is the limit. So just like app intents, where we're advertising functionality to the system, you can also advertise content or enums to the system. So app entities, and in this example, we're building this world app entity. So you can see those are the properties of our world entity in this example. And then on the right, we have our app enum. So if you're familiar with enums, we're basically just adding a display representation to that enum so the system knows how to display it to the user. And so again, you can kind of see the benefit you get. We're not really building any UI here. We just say to the system, hey, here's our enum, here's what the values look like in the interface, and then we just get that interface when we select the parameter. And that's it. If you didn't catch all that, I'll post the project in the Discord, and thank you.